You probably know a lot of stories where some loser gets reborn and gets a second chance. But what if I told you that in this story such a lucky person was the last dragon in the world, which was killed by humans? He is reborn as a child named Rei from a small village and trains to become stronger. Soon he enters the academy, and what do you think will happen? Let's find out. But before we do, let's start the story from the beginning. Dragons have always terrified the hearts of humans with their power. This inevitably led to them being hunted. Soon, from all the dragons, there was only one left. He chose his last goal in life to take revenge on the humans. Despite his best efforts, he was slain, defeated by a superior number of humans. But as the darkness closed in, he started to hear voices. Slowly, he opens his eyes as a human baby in his father's arms. Confused and disorientated, he has no idea what is going on. As the once mighty dragon struggles in the hands of mere humans, the father thinks that perhaps his son likes him. The baby, on the other hand, thinks of striking the dragon's breath at this lowly human to burn him to a crisp. He prepares for a legendary move, but it happens to be an attack of the curdled milk that the baby splatters straight onto his dad's face. Meanwhile, the daddy freaks out as a milk puke welcomes him and is disgusted. The baby gets baffled and wonders what happened to his magic. As the mother comes forward to hold the baby, the tiny human is scared witless, thinking what the hell this woman is going to do with him. But to his surprise, she gently touches his face and welcomes her baby, calling him Rei. Flustered, the baby ponders about the silly name the mother has given him and why she is welcoming him. Unable to speak his mind, the baby thinks if the humans have any idea about who he is. While the mother looks at him delightedly, the dragon reckons if the heavens allowed him to be born again as the mighty red dragon, he would have the ultimate chance to fulfill his desire to take revenge on humankind who killed his dragon family. The fire of revenge still burns in him as he thinks it's time to get even. And now, with his human body, he is going to kill every single human just like they did to the dragonkind. While Rei plans to wipe out the trace of humanity in his head, his father gets a sneaking suspicion that the baby will be in a lot of trouble in the future, seeing how naughty he is as a newborn. Resting on his mother's arm, Rei seems to be angry as he thinks of killing them all, but at that moment, he starts feeling sleepy. He assumes that he must have been tired as he spends all his energy controlling his human mouth and dozes off while thinking about how weak human bodies are. After some time, Rei grows bigger and seems to have discovered much about humans. He also had to learn his parents' names because calling them short-haired and long-haired wouldn't be very specific. Rei further reveals his parents' names, Jake and Scarlet, and describes their appearance. He elucidates that they are better looking than other humans. Like his mother, Scarlet has a beautiful face, which speaks volumes about her kind personality, and his father, Jake, has much more muscle than other humans and seems much stronger. Whenever villagers nearby visit, they always treat his parents respectfully because they are adventurers. That's what humans call them. This time, the villagers who seem to visit their house thanks Jake for saving his wife, as she would have died back in the Black Forest if it wasn't for his exceptional swordsmanship. The other villager feels grateful for Scarlet, who is also a strong mage, uttering that it is impossible to find a second mage within a 100-mile radius, so they are lucky to have them. While the villagers appreciate the Talon family, the couple lets out that they only did what anyone else would have done, and the good news is that everyone is safe and sound. At that moment, Scarlet spots her son Rei crawling on the floor. She immediately realizes that he's hungry and gets him something to eat. As one of the villagers notices Rei, he mumbles that his hair seems red and concludes that it's because of the lighting. His father responds that Rei started growing red hair a few days ago. Eventually, as the villagers leave, saying that they will be counting on Jake to chase those beasts away from the farm, the dragon kid ponders that if he is growing red hair, that certainly means that he has some of his powers left behind. The villagers walk outside the house and start gossiping about the Talon family, thinking they are cursed. They assume that it's not impossible because not everyone can become an adventurer, and nobody knows the danger they encountered while fighting the monsters. Feeling joyed, Rei contemplates that the people seem terrified of his red hair, inferring that they are already intimidated by his grand presence. But on the other hand, apart from other humans, his parents confused him the most. His mother holds him and tries to feed the little guy, but Rei, who's not an ordinary kid, starts making a mess as he dunks his face into the bowl to eat. While his mother is not pissed at him for making a mess, the kid presumes that no matter how he tries to piss off the humans, they never scold him. The little guy even peed into his dad's mouth as he slept. But instead of getting mad every time, they just smiled at him happily. After Rei pees into his dad's mouth, Jake seems to be proud of his son, thinking that he's a genius for knowing how to pee by himself. After being treated that way and living with the humans, Rei concludes that if hell existed, this would be it. It is revealed to us that adventurers are rare in this world, and Rei's mother was a mage, which is even more unique. The dragon kid contemplates that if, in the future, he gets hold of the strongest magic in the world, which is his dragon powers, his revenge will become easier. As time passes, Rei gets 2 years old. Upon hitting this age, every child gets the chance to join the mage evaluation, and this is the day that Rei gets to see if he has mana energy. While Jake waves them goodbye and wishes them luck, Rei clings to his mother's arms, and they leave in the horse cart. The boy then narrates that being reborn as a reincarnation of the red dragon and descendant of a mage, he will undoubtedly pass the evaluation test, and if he manages to recover his magic, No one can stop him from returning to the top. Later, they arrive in the town, and the red-haired kid stretches himself after a nap, pondering that he only has one thing to worry about, which is this weak human body. As Scarlet carries him around the bustling central marketplace, Ray observes the things happening around where the adventurers appear to be selling high-quality beast crystals. In the meantime, a beggar approaches one of the adventurers and asks him for food, but he kicks out the beggar and warns him not to get in the way of his business. As the people think about how unlucky the beggar is, Ray, who seems to have noticed them for a while, reckons that even though they are all humans, they still look down on others and ridicule the weaker ones. He recalls his past life as a dragon in which he treated protecting the weak as his duty and worked hard, but it still failed in the end. Snapping out of his flashback, they finally reach the Roland Academy for magic evaluation, and there's a long queue in order, waiting for their names to be called. While Ray is excited for his turn, he looks around and watches kids burst into tears because they couldn't pass the test. As one of the kids seems to make a fuss about it and cries out that it's unfair, the dragon kid calls that child foolish and ruminates that this world has always been unfair. After a while, he relaxes in his mother's arms, and it appears to be his turn, as he is called upon as Ray Talon. The mage calls upon Ray and instructs his mother to have his son put his hands on the crystal ball. He explains that if the child has the ability for magic, the crystal will glow, and the color of the glow will depict what element he has an ability in. As the kid excitedly straightens out his hands to put it on the crystal ball, he anticipates making everyone's jaws drop by being a mighty red dragon. Feeling confident, he waits for the crystal to glow and thinks that as a dragon, he is versed in every type of magic there is. Abruptly, Scarlet starts sobbing, and the kid witnesses tears streaming down her mother's face. Ray gets startled and ponders that maybe his mother is shocked by his talent in magic or bursting out with happiness because he has the same element as her. But he yanks out his thoughts when he realizes that the crystal ball isn't glowing. That's when the old wizard bursts his bubble and disappointingly informs them that Ray doesn't have the ability for magic. Upon hearing this, the little guy freaks out and talks in his head, wondering that he was the strongest red dragon in his past life, and that it's absurd to say he's a dragon without magic. To assure herself, Scarlet asks the wizard if he's sure about this, as she graduated from this very academy. However, Ray, who seems to be hopping mad, smacks the crystal ball with his tiny hands, believing that the wizard got it all wrong and the stupid crystal ball is broken. The wizard immediately picks up the crystal ball and lets out that there's nothing he can do about it. But it seems like the old man hurt the dragon's pride, as the angry boy spits out his pacifier and wonders if the wizard knows that he's the ruler of the magic. Our boy gets mad and tugs at the old man's long beard and pulls his mustache out of frustration, assuming the wizard is lying and trying to hide his ability from his mother to trick them. As Scarlet freaks out and tries to stop her son, Ray becomes a maniac and keeps yanking his beard. The little guy then contemplates that he knows all about magic, and being a dragon, there's no way he does not have an aptitude for magic, adding that it's an absolute joke to think that the legendary dragon would not know magic after reincarnation. On their way back home in the cart, Ray presumes that heaven is punishing him for killing many humans, but is baffled as he wonders what's the point of being reincarnated when he was going to be punished after all. But then, something flickers in his mind as he seems to grasp the situation. Our boy concludes that heaven is testing him, so he should find another way to take revenge if he can't become a mage. Later, at the table, as everyone is eating, Ray stares at his dad and pleads with him in broken sentences to teach him how to fight. As Jake wonders if he wants to learn swordsmanship from him, our boy anticipates that even though he cannot learn magic, he can still be a swordsman and achieve his dream of taking revenge on humankind. The next scene takes us to Jake, who seems to be teaching swordsmanship to his son Ray, who has grown a bit bigger. However, it appears that the burning desire for revenge wasn't as easy as he thought it would be. Our boy narrates that he's been learning swordsmanship from his father for the past 2 years, but he failed to defeat him every single time. As Jake and his son seem to be practicing with the wooden swords, Ray prepares his sword and becomes determined to win against his father. Observing his father's moves the best, our boy reckons that he just has to take the chance and turn at the exact same moment when Jake swings down his sword so he can attack his side. At that moment, he tries to take the chance and execute his planned move. Unfortunately, Ray fails to do so as his legs entangle and his father's wooden sword strikes straight at his head. Getting smacked once again, Ray wonders why it always ends this way, assuming that his body can't keep up with his brain and that these clumsy limbs keep dragging him down. Later, poor little fella lying on the bed finally awakes as he blacked out after the bang on his head, and Jake lets out a little laugh. Watching him laugh, Scarlet yells at him for joking around and asks him to hold back a little because their son is just 4 years old. Revealing that the night trials are approaching soon, his father mumbles that he won't be able to pass if he keeps practicing this way. But Scarlet, who seems angry, says that he's pushing Ray too hard and affirms that he doesn't need to follow in their footsteps, as there are many good jobs out there besides being an adventurer. But Mr. Talon assures his wife that he's not pushing him, and Ray seems clumsy because of his young age, as he doesn't have enough control over his body yet. He adds that they have an entire year left, and they have to believe that their son can enter the Avrian Knight Academy. Upon hearing this, our boy reckons he still has a year left till the night trials and doubts whether he can do it. Speculating that he's a reincarnation of a red dragon so he wouldn't be as weak as a human, Rei gets high-spirited and assures his parents that he can do it, uttering that he will be the strongest person anyone has ever seen. To take their practice to the next level, Jake gives his son a present, and it turns out to be a real sword from which they will practice from now on. While our guy is astonished to hold a real sword in his hands that seems too big to handle, Jake claims that this sword will help him raise his control quicker, and whispers in his ear about another gift he has for him. As our boy speculates why his father is being so mysterious, they reach the storage room and to his surprise, he is welcomed by a magic puppet. While Rei contemplates what this might be for, his father warns him not to underestimate it as this puppet is powered by magic, and students of Avrian Academy use it to train their apprentices. However, he suspiciously looks at the puppet and wonders if what his father is saying is true. After that, Jake challenges his son to try attacking the puppet, and he confidently accepts the challenge. After warming his wrist up, Rei strikes the sword towards the puppet with full strength, and it activates to level 1. But, as soon as the sword hits the puppet's shield, it strikes back in a flash and makes Rei's sword fly away. As level 1 terminates, the little guy is left disappointed as he gets defeated. Watching his son getting disgruntled, Jake appeases him and lets out that even if he manages to win against the first level, he will be able to pass the night trial exam, adding that he used many of his connections to get this puppet. Upon hearing this, Rei gets as excited as ever and thinks about winning the trial in no time. It appears that our boy is determined to win this time and tumbles on the ground after being completely worn out as he seems to be practicing hard. Rei lets out a deep sigh as his movements fail to follow up with his brain and gets annoyed by his weak human body. He further ruminates if he keeps progressing like this, he won't even be able to beat the puppet, let alone take his revenge. Suddenly, a voice echoes from behind and questions why he wants to defeat a puppet, making our boy startled as he prepares to swing his sword. Speculating where the voice came from, he catches a glimpse of a girl who sneaks up on him and gets flustered. The blonde-haired girl apologizes to Rei, saying that she didn't mean to startle him and introduces herself as Amy. Revealing that she lives in the village, the girl lets out that Rei caught her eye as she saw him out in the mountains at this time, and so she decided to remind him to leave the mountains before sundown. Getting a little nervous, he asks her if this place is dangerous, and Amy starts to yap about how this place is fine by the morning, but since this place is too close to the forest, the magic beasts may appear after sundown. While Rei finds this information interesting and is surprised by how much she knows, Amy tells him that she harvests fruits and vegetables, so she's quite familiar with this place. She then offers him to trudge down the mountain together since it's going to get dark soon, to which our boy immediately agrees to. As they exchange their names, it turns out that Amy already knows his name because he's famous in his village. Not surprised to hear that, Rei is taken aback by his thoughts as he knows the reason for being well known in the village. It is revealed to us that many people admire the Talon family, especially Jake, and often talk to him when he's out for a walk in the village. However, as he wanders in the village along with his red-haired son Rei, some people gossip about his son, claiming that he's cursed and thinks that the curse might be contagious. It appears that no human has ever grown red hair in this village besides Jake's son. Hearing the harsh words, Rei ponders that people respect his parents, but they have an unfounded fear towards him, and for that reason, he became a foreign entity in his village who was liked by no one. Getting reminded of his past life as a dragon, he then wonders if it's because of the adults who always use stories of vicious and horrifying red dragons to scare children. Red is a color signifying strength, but according to them, it's evil in human society. He reflects upon this irony of how greedy humans were the ones who took down their race, but it's always the dragon kind, the ones that are written off as evil in stories. Justifying their revenge, Rei exclaims that they did that only to protect themselves, but humans saw this as the proof of their supposed brutality. While our guy is zoned out by these thoughts about how disgusting humans are, he is interrupted by Amy, who asks him what he's thinking about. After that, Rei snaps out of his thoughts and follows her down the mountain. Amy starts conversing about how she's kept seeing him around the mountain lately, and questions him if he's practicing. As our boy tells her that he wants to become a swordsman, she thinks that it's cool since Rei's father is the only swordsman in the village. She then asks him if he's going to join the Knight Academy, and our boy nods to her. Continuing the chatter, Amy reveals how her brother is going to take the exam too, since he's really strong and claims no one in the village can beat him, but he's jealous of Rei since his dad teaches him, while normal folks don't have a chance to learn swordsmanship. As Rei asks her if she has a brother, the blonde-haired girl gets excited and implores him if he wants to be friends with her brother, so then they will be able to practice with each other. At that moment, they both get interrupted by the sound of footsteps, and it turns out it's Gary, Amy's brother, who rudely orders our red-haired boy to leave his sister alone. Seeing her brother, Amy blocks Rei's side in a protective way and justifies to her brother that he hasn't done anything to her. Gary steps forwards and interrogates his sister about being together with the red-haired boy, and further reminds her that he's cursed and it's contagious. He then touches her hair to make sure her hair hasn't turned red due to the curse. While she gets annoyed by her brother's rude behavior, two boys who are with Gary walk towards Rei and humiliate him for walking with Amy, calling him shameless. The two of them bully the red-haired guy and mock him by saying that his parents would have a hard time raising a cursing child like him. They warn Ray to move away from the village with his family, mumbling that they're common people, so they don't want to be involved with the curse. One of them adds that these high and mighty adventurers have no reason to sympathize with the lowly civilians. As soon as they utter these words, Ray clenches his fist out of anger and lands a powerful punch in the bully's face. Done being silent, he aims to punch Gary, but one of his punks comes forward and takes the hit. But with his punch being so forceful, he also blows Gary away. While our boy makes it clear that he just wants to beat the one who insulted his parents, Gary calls him out as Ray Talon, asserting that he knows both his parents are adventurers and his father is a swordsman. Assuming that he was trained, Gary challenges him to a fight and informs him that he won't be using weapons as he doesn't want to kill him. As both of them throw away their swords, Ray lets out that he can attack all at once because it doesn't give a shit. Their fight continues as they both strike punches at each other. However, it emerges that our boy sustains severe injuries due to his weak human body, and flings away as Gary whacks a final blow at him, smashing him on the ground. The poor fella collapses on the ground as he bleeds, and Gary asks him if he has admitted defeat. But it seems like Ray hasn't given up yet as he somehow gets back up. Meanwhile, Gary makes some colorful remarks about him, blabbering that he's disappointed because Ray's father, a great swordsman, trained him, but he still seems useless. The bully flatters himself, asserting that his father is a regular merchant. But still, he's a good swordsman. To make him low-spirited, the callous boy utters that he should give up on being a swordsman and do something he's good at. Listening to this, the piercing words echo in Ray's mind, and he hopelessly lies on the ground. Getting back to their home, Amy scolds her rude brother, saying that he overreacted. But Gary justifies his act by saying that Ray deserved it and warns his sister to stay away from that boy in the future, as many fear the cursed red-haired boy. He clarifies that Ray's parents are adventurers and their parents are ordinary people. Upon hearing this, Amy yells angrily and tells him to get his own food, muttering that she hates him. As his sister storms away furiously, Gary witnesses something on his hand. He looks at the indent and speculates that if he hadn't had his protective gear, his arm would have broken on the very first blow, and Ray would have won the fight. In the next scene, it is revealed to us that Ray returns home with wounds and scars all across his face, with his clothes all covered in mud. His mom, who was busy cooking dinner, turns towards him. She questions his late arrival and notices her injured and exhausted son, and one look was enough to let her know that he got into a fight. The boy assures his mother that he just got hurt during his practice, but she knew he was lying and ponders if the kids bullied him. However, our stubborn boy denies it while Scarlett inspects the wounds. Ray has always been the one to act strong, and it appears that he was doing the same here as he claims that he's a man now. Meanwhile, Jake hears his son's wise words and appreciates him for working hard on practice. As it's almost dinner time, our boy yet once again decides to practice, and as his parents try to stop him, he manages to convince them by informing them it won't take long. In the storage room, we see Ray activating the puppet to level 1, and he easily dodges the attacks since he's already used to the way this puppet attacks. As he looks for an opening, he positions his sword, and as soon as he strikes, the sword gets stuck in the wooden pillar, startling Ray. The sword cracks as he tries to pull it out, and while he is busy with it, the puppet smacks him from behind and the poor boy screams in pain. The next day, Ray walks up to the mountain and his eyes land on Amy as he spots her standing at a distance. She looks embarrassed and greets Ray when our boy asks her if she was waiting for him. Meanwhile, she apologizes to him on behalf of her brother. Ray assures her that it wasn't her fault and takes the blame on himself while admitting he just wasn't strong enough. Amy, being a soft-hearted girl she is, tears up while our red-haired boy seems to be done with how troublesome breed humans are. He tries to comfort the girl while thinking that he should learn to socialize. After that, he grabs an apple from Amy's basket to let her know that he accepts her apology, and she tells him not to worry, because Gary won't trouble him anymore. From that day onwards, the blonde-haired girl begins to show up at the same place every day, and soon enough our boy gets used to having Amy by his side. In the next scene, we see the Talon family residence entrance surrounded by armored soldiers along with horses. Jake and Scarlett appear to be having a conversation with the head, who informs them about the nearby villages that have been attacked by an anonymous thing. Upon hearing this, Jake gets furious over the news, and it is further revealed that there aren't any clear witnesses, but there have already been victims that have been infected, and those people are too disoriented right now to tell anyone what happened. For that reason, the head decides to reach out to the adventurers. Scarlett, who seems to be worried, is a bit confused about those things appearing where humans do because they don't usually do that. She finds the situation abnormal and insists on going along with her husband. But Jake refuses and lets out that it's just a recon quest, and besides, one of them has to take care of Ray since he's going to take the test soon. While Scarlett doesn't seem satisfied, Jake comforts her by letting her know that he will be back before she knows it. She finally understands and instructs her husband to be careful. In the next scene, Ray appears to be panting as he tries to catch breath while practicing. He still isn't convinced with his moves as he is unable to coordinate his human body well. He looks behind and the sight of Amy, who seems to be reading a book, makes his heart rate increase. As soon as he realizes it, he smacks himself in the face to snap out of it. After that, he walks towards the blonde-haired girl and informs her to stop here today since it's almost time to go home. Meanwhile, Amy, who was so invested in her book, doesn't realize how late it got and they both trudge down the mountain. On the way, Ray questions her if she gets bullied in the village because of him, since people always say that he's cursed because of his red hair. Listening to this, the girl tells him all about what her friends said about Ray and lets out that it's their problem if they think like that, because according to her opinion, she thinks red hair looks cool rather than scary. She then calls out his name and acknowledges him as a special person regardless of his red hair, and finishes off by telling him to be himself. The last sentence makes him realize something, and he gets a flashback of what Gary said to him about doing something he's good at. He smiles after realizing it and excitedly thanks Amy before waving her goodbye. As soon as he gets home, he goes to the storage room and activates the puppet to level 1. He positions himself as he places his hands on the wooden floor while he holds the sword in his mouth. Being himself, our boy starts moving like that. He's more agile and moves with all his limbs, making his movements quicker. After spotting an opening, he strikes the sword with full strength, and just like that, he passes level 1. He gets so pumped on his success, but he decides to test his limits, although he'd be able to pass the Knight Academy exam since he's passed level 1 and activates level 2. It seems to be early in the morning where we see Jake getting ready to leave for the quest. Ray, who just woke up, watches his dad getting ready to leave and wonders where he is going. His dad apologizes to him and informs him that he will be leaving the home for a while, but he will be back home by the time he takes the test. Jake advises his son to practice on the puppet as much as he can while he's not around. He brightly smiles towards Ray and believes that he can beat the puppet. As the red-haired boy was about to let his dad know about his little victory, the people who are waiting for Jake outside his house call him out to leave for the mission. As he leaves, Jake tells his wife to take care of herself and lets her know that he will miss her. Meanwhile, Ray stands there and smiles as he ponders that it's alright since he just defeated a puppet and it's not a big deal. He decides to surprise Pops with a big shock once he comes back home and leaves to practice on the mountains. On his way, he wonders how Jake is going to react when he sees him win. He thinks it will be interesting to see his dad's reaction, and realizes that it is all thanks to the tip Amy gave him that he found a way to solve his issues. While our boy seems excited and feels grateful, he notices that he's becoming more like a human. Ray reminds himself that humans are terrible, but his parents and Amy are exceptions, so he won't take revenge on them. As he continues climbing up the mountain, he wonders if Amy is not coming today. But then he comes to realize that he's being so impatient for her. He pretends not to care and assures himself that now no one can disturb his training. Our guy reminds himself that he's a mighty red dragon, so he can't let himself be corroded by his human emotions. In the next scene, it appears that Ray has fallen asleep and is snoring when he suddenly opens his eyes. Ray wakes up realizing that it's late and he's going to get nagged if he doesn't get home soon. While running down the mountain, he presumes that he hasn't thanked Amy and decides to thank her tomorrow. Upon returning to the village, as it was already getting dark, he witnesses people gathered around and discussing about searching up in the west. It turns out to be Gary and Amy's father who interrogates the blacksmith who claims to have seen the kids. The blacksmith reveals that those 4 kids came to buy new weapons in his shop this morning, and he heard the blonde-haired boy telling the others that they were going to the forest to hunt magic beasts. While Amy and Gary's parents are left in absolute fright as they are scared to lose their kids, the mother of the other 2 kids, Bob and Cale, grabs the blacksmith by his clothes and blames him for letting the kids go to the forest on their own. Freaked out, the poor guy tries to calm down the lady and explains that he didn't know they were going to go into the forest for real. After that, the father of the 2 blonde-haired kids instructs the blacksmith to call the guards to search together with them since it's too dangerous in the forest at night. While the old guy does what he's ordered to do, the red-haired boy who is walking to his house wonders about Gary's little gang that went missing. He thinks that it's karma that they got what's coming for them. He wonders if they got killed by the magic beasts, so it would be less of a chore for him, and remains unbothered until he remembers Amy. Trying hard not to think about the girl, Ray tries to shrug it off while he recalls how she treated him pretty decently, and he doesn't want to take revenge on her, but she has a foolish brother. On the other hand, the people collect torches and materials to leave for the forest. As our boy decides to walk away, as he ponders how short human lifespans are, and it's just a matter of time before they get killed. But at that moment, a glimpse of Amy appears in his mind. He reminds himself that he has his own path to walk on, and wonders what's this feeling that's making him rethink his decision. Without another thought, he turns around and believes that Amy is innocent, and he still hasn't thanked her for defeating the puppet yet. The scene switches to the forest, where we see 2 of the magic beasts bruised badly, whereas Kaylee and Bob are lying unconscious on the grass. Gary tries to protect his sister from the magic beast as she sobs out of fear. He instructs Amy not to move and prepares to fight the beast with the sword in his hand. Ray runs towards the forest, and as he sniffs, he recognizes the smell of blood. Just as he thought that Amy was in danger, he finds a dead young demonic wolf and inspects the incision from a blade on its stomach, which was still warm. As this gives him an idea that they are nearby, he gets confused because the footsteps and markings around there are all mixed up. Baffled, he thinks of which he should go, and that's when he hears a scream. It seems to be Amy's scream. Fighting the beast, Gary is thrown onto a tree by an adult demonic wolf and falls on the ground. Meanwhile, the demonic wolf approaches to attack Amy, who covers her head and closes her eyes hoping someone would come to help. Just then, she hears the sound of a blade striking and opens her eyes only to witness Ray fighting the wolf and hitting the sword in the wolf's mouth. while he checks on Amy to see if she's alright, but Gary and the others are not in good condition. At that moment, the girl alerts Ray to watch out, but it gets too late, therefore the wolf scratches his arm. Witnessing the boy getting hurt, Amy gets terrified as she yells out his name, but Ray assures her that he's alright, and won't die that easily. With that, he decides to lure the wolf away from Amy and jumps onto a tree branch. But he immediately falls off as the wolf bites the tree branch. Worried, our boy thinks that this body is far too weak and he won't be able to hold up with an adult wolf. It appears that Ray is struggling to fight the adult wolf on his own, and realizes that his speed is nothing and he can't lure him away at all. In the past, the demonic wolf was nothing for him, but now he can't even manage to injure it. He threatens the demon wolf that these humans belong to him and he isn't allowed to touch them. Our boy gets ready for the attack since he can't hold on much longer and aims for the wolf's weakness. Ray holds the sword with his mouth, and with full strength he strikes the sword, wounding on its eye, but he still gets disappointed in himself for doing less damage. He then wonders about his past, and how he would have been able to tear it apart with a single blow, but now he has to rely on a human weapon. The demonic wolf attacks yet once again, and this time our dragon boy waits and looks for an opening. He strikes the sword and manages to cut one of its legs off, and the wolf crashes to the ground. Just when Ray diverts his attention to Amy, the wolf attacks out of nowhere, and our boy dodges the sneak attack. Holding the sword with his mouth once again, he strikes the wolf with all he's got, and finally kills it off. Eventually, he collapses on the ground, and just before getting unconscious, a screen appears and notifies him that he has a new ability unlocked, and he has obtained an intermediate grade beast crystal. Gravely injured, he wonders what this useless information is written on the screen, and looks over at the siblings, who are lying unconscious, pondering that he has to save them, or else their blood is going to attract more magic beasts. Trembling with pain, he walks towards them and carries Gary on his shoulders and Amy in his arms. When Gary catches a glimpse of the red-haired boy carrying him and passes out, our boy presumes that he can only save 2 people as it is his limit, leaving the 2 kids, Bob and Cale, who lie unconscious in the middle of the forest, and reckons that he did everything he could, but the rest is out of his control. Panting heavily, he walks out of the dark forest. While the villagers hold fire torches and weapons to look for the kids who went into the forest, they spot them coming out. As they quickly inform the kids' parents, one of the villagers recognizes that it's the red-haired boy from Talon's family. Ray, whose blood keeps dripping along the way, immediately asks the villagers to help Gary and Amy, who are blacked out at the moment, and tells them that they might need healing. As our boy collapses on the ground, the villagers start muttering about the red-haired boy who came out of the forest with 2 other kids. They speculate why the kids went inside the forest at night, as it is filled with magic beasts. As they continue gossiping, a mother runs towards them and freaks out when she witnesses 2 of her kids, Bob and Cale, are missing. Panicked, she looks around and peeks at Gary and Amy. That's when their father reveals that his children are the only ones who made it out of the forest. Frantically, she tries to enter the forest but is stopped by the villagers, who tell her to calm down and that she cannot go there alone. Calling them cowards, the anguished mother scampers inside the forest to find her kids. However, chills run down her spine when she sees the terrifying eyes of the magic beasts that scare the hell out of her, and she quickly dashes back to the villagers. As the villagers mumble that she's back, the terrified woman clarifies that she is not scared at all. Raging with anger, the woman grabs Ray with his collar and asks him where Bob and Cale are. She blames everything on the red-haired boy, blaming him that he tricked them into going inside the forest, because they're both good kids and have no reason to go there. Certain that Ray must be the one to lure them in, the vicious woman slaps across his face and lets out that she knew that red hair was a bad sign, calling Ray a sign of calamity who brings misfortune. Upon hearing this, the other villagers start whispering and assume that the red-haired boy really tricked those children, as he is the only one who managed to come out. As the villagers blame Ray for all this, they force the poor kid to speak up and start asking where he led their children. The mother, who seems to be hopping mad, keeps smacking Ray across his face and asks him why he only brought Gary and Amy back with him and where her children are. Barely having the energy to say something, our poor boy informs her that her kids are in the forest. Calling him a cold-blooded monster, the woman throws him away and mumbles they are just children, so how could he leave them there to die? Saying she won't forgive Ray for what he did, the mother pleads with other villagers to go with her inside the forest, but they refuse by making excuses and mutters that their children are waiting at home. Meanwhile, our boy, who seems to be in bad shape, contemplates if they have forgotten that he's a child too, or if these people don't consider him a human just because of his red hair, adding that these vicious humans think that he's not a child but a monster. As the woman snatches the fire torch from one of them, she moves toward Ray and says that she will never forgive him, concluding that this red-haired monster should die. Watching these humans, Ray ponders that these people are more terrifying than any beast could ever be, and they are the true monsters. His life flashes before him as the woman raises the fire torch to kill him, but our guy puts on a gentle smile and reckons that he's going to die by a fire torch, thinking that it's humiliating being a red dragon. Contemplating his last moments, the woman strikes the torch at Ray. However, at that moment, someone leaps in front of him. It turns out to be Gary, who halts the attack with his protective gear. Witnessing the blonde-haired guy save Ray, the villagers assert that he must have gone mad for saving the monsters, as it managed to charm Gary too. As they shout to kill the monster who the blonde boy shields, Gary gives them a deadly stare and says that they are the ones who've gone mad and want to kill him just based on assumptions. Protecting the red-haired guy, Gary stands guard in front of him and warns the villagers not to touch him, as Ray is his savior. After that horrible incident, our boy has a nightmare about the woman who blames him for everything and smacks him, calling him a star of calamity. He also gets reminded of his past as the mages leap toward him to kill him, asking him to sacrifice his life. As he dreams of the humans who want him dead, Ray wakes up out of fear and looks at his mother. While he peeks at her mother, who holds his hand and cries for him in her sleep, our boy ponders how humans are beautiful, yet cruel. As soon as he sits up, Scarlet wakes up and bursts in happiness after seeing Ray waking up. Wondering if it's a dream, his mother grasps him in a hug and feels grateful, as she thought Ray would never wake up again. As she hugs him tightly, Ray screams in pain, and Scarlet lets out that he is still in pain, adding that it serves him right for acting rashly. Curious, our boy asks her how long he has been asleep, to which his mother reveals that he has been sleeping for an entire week. Scarlet cries out of joy, saying she doesn't know how she would have explained things to his father if he hadn't woken up. Upon hearing this, Ray questions her about the people in the forest, and his mother informs him that the 2 children he saved are lightly wounded but fine. However, Bob and Kale are both still missing, and she assumes that they were killed by the beasts. We are then traveled back to Scarlet's flashback, where she arrives at the forest and witnesses her son beaten up by the villagers. Gary protects him and makes them understand that they went into the forest by themselves, and Ray saved them. While the villagers don't seem to believe him, Scarlet watches his son lying unconscious on the ground, and bursts into anger as she activates her magic powers. The villagers calm her down and tell her that her son led the children into the forest, so he should take responsibility, adding that as a mother, she should know how it feels. As Scarlet takes her son in her arms, who seems gravely injured, she gives them a deadly stare, deadly enough to eat them alive, and the woman who beat the crap out of Ray trembles in fear. After that, the woman whose children are trapped in the forest breaks down into tears and pleads with the villagers to save her kids. The villagers sympathize with her, muttering how she will live without them. While Scarlet holds her son, she hears the people gossiping about Ray as they blabber that they should have kept far away from that curse. As one of the men warns the other, who's gossiping about the Talon's child, that he's being too loud, the gossiper puts on an evil grin and lets out that he was talking about the forest. Upon hearing brutal things about her son, she carries Ray in her arms and walks away. Snapping out of her flashback, Scarlet pats his head and tells her son not to blame himself as everything's over now. Meanwhile, she reveals that the boy named Gary told her everything, and encourages Ray by saying he was amazing. His mother goes out of the room to bring him something to eat. After his mother leaves the room, Ray seems to wonder about the thing that appeared in front of him in the forest. While he thinks if everyone has this screen, he taps one of the powers known as the Blessing of the Dragon's Eye. As soon as he touches it, the power activates, and our boy freaks out when he peeks at his mother's energy status, realizing that he had this ability in the past. He reminisces about the time when he was the Red Dragon and had different types of magic. But ever since he failed the aptitude test, he never thought he would get the chance to use them again. Feeling delighted to use his powers once again, Ray assumes that he will unlock his powers one at a time, and peeks at the intermediate grade beast crystal he has acquired, wondering if he got it because he killed an intermediate demonic wolf. Suddenly, Ray notices smoke emerging in his room and starts coughing. Ray opens his window and witnesses villagers shouting that their house is on fire. That's when his mother barges into the room, apprising him of a fire, and tells Ray to get out as the fire spreads across the house. However, as the flames keep rising, Scarlet saves him with her magic and halts the fire. As Ray clings to her mother's arms, he uses his dragon eye power to spot the target that burned down their house. Inspecting the villagers with his dragon eye, he finds out the culprit, who appears to be Bob and Kale's mom, with a kindled fire in her hand. It appears that the flames engulf their whole house. While the villagers are shocked to see that it is Talon's house, and seem certain that it's because of the cursed kid, Scarlet uses her magic to put out the fire and impressively scatter the flames like wind. As the fire is finally stamped out, the villagers whisper that it's the curse again and anticipate that if the red-haired cursed kid stays here any longer, their entire village will be in ruins. Meanwhile, Ray is crushed after hearing such things about him. He is interrupted by his mother, who asks him if the fire scared him. Shaking those thoughts, he holds his mother's hand and tells her how cool she was when the flames blew away immediately. As they make their way to the house, Ray, who seems upset by all the harsh words, ruminates that those humans wanted to burn their home, and even wanted to burn them along with it. Concluding that the humans wanted them dead, he burns with fury and gets determined to take revenge. Later, our boy leaves for training and his mother tells him to go easy on himself as his wounds haven't healed up yet. After that, he reaches the forest and draws out his sword. He then activates his dragon eye and gets happy to see the beginner magic beasts that he can defeat easily. One of the magic beasts, who appears to be a monkey in the tree, plucks out an apple and starts eating it. Ray spots that monkey with his dragon eye and sneaks up from behind, smashing the sword into the beast. It turns out that our boy kills 20 of the beginner magic beasts. After killing the monsters, the dragon system appears and shows him that he has obtained a beast crystal. Looking at the screen, Ray lets out that it's a matter of luck as he killed 20 of the magic beasts, but obtained only 2 crystals. As he wonders what would happen if he absorbs the crystal, he peeks at the little wolf wandering around its dead family. Ray tries to pat the little beast and asserts that it has to fight on his from now on, when suddenly the screen pops up and notifies him about the taming chance of the black demonic wolf pup. Unaware of what it means, he clicks to take the chance. He gets excited after seeing that it worked, and the black wolf pup has been tamed. However, our boy freaks out when he gets to know that the tamed magic beast goes inside his body. Shocked, he asks the dragon system if there are no side effects and he can summon it. While Ray annoyingly looks at the little dragon and lets out that he's going to kill him if it doesn't work, the dreadful dragon system nods its head. At that moment, he unlocks another skill, but he decides to stall it later as he has another business to do. He searches for the two lost kids with his dragon eye ability and finds them as he locates them above a hill. He reaches the place which somewhat looks like a cave and witnesses plenty of dead bodies and skulls lying around. Ray then spots two dead bodies similar to Bob and Kale, and it appears that the beasts have ripped out their organs, devoured them completely. Not leaving anything on their body but clothes and bones, our guy takes their clothes off as a mark of identity and puts them in a basket. Later at night, Scarlet keeps nagging Ray for not pushing the training much since he hasn't healed it, telling her to stop being such a nag. His mother lets out that he's being rebellious and goes on scolding him as he also got his clothes dirty. While Ray informs her that he will be practicing tomorrow, Scarlet seems to be done with him and reveals that his dad is coming home in a couple of days so he can train with him. As our guy jumps out of happiness and gets impatient to show Pops his training results, his mother roars with anger, instructing him to put on his blanket properly and go to sleep. Frightening the life out of him, he gets to know that instinctual fear from the human bloodline is real. After that, at midnight, Ray opens his eyes and lies awake. He goes into the storage room and picks up the bucket of clothes he fetched from the forest and another bucket full of blood. On the other hand, someone knocks at Bob and Kale's house, and the mother descends down the stairs, wondering who it could be at such a time. As she opens the door, hoping to see her children and calls out their names to see if they have returned. However, her eyes land on something lying in front of the house, and she recognizes at once that it's her son Kale's clothes. The woman picks up the clothes and notices footprints that seem to be taking her somewhere. To find her kids, she follows the footsteps and shouts that she's coming to get them. However, the footprints lead her deep into the forest. Realizing that it's too dark, she holds her lantern and decides not to go any further in the forest. That's when she spots her son Bob's clothes hanging on the tree and calls out their names as she runs to find them. Panicked, as the woman comes near the tree where Ray seems to be hiding, he lets go of the rope, and a bucket full of blood drops right onto her. Drenched in blood, the woman shouts madly and asks who did this. That's when our guy jumps off the tree and reveals himself. Uttering that she knew it would be the cursed red-haired monster, the mother bursts into anger and asks him to give her children back, calling him the bringer of misfortune. Standing in the forest, they are surrounded by the dangerous magic beasts. While Ray stands in the dark, unaffected by the monsters, he steps back, and the woman is snared by the forest beasts. As he keeps stepping back with a deadly serious expression on his face, he watches the women getting annihilated by the beasts as the blood splatters all over the place. The next day, in the town, the people gossip about the curse being real and decide not to get on the bad side of the Talon family. Ray, with his training sword, appears from behind and stares murderously at the villagers as they gossip. Scared for their lives, the villagers try their best to act nice and greet him with a good morning, telling him that he works hard at training. While the villagers take a sigh of relief as he leaves, our boy speculates that there are new rumors about him, and this time, he likes them. Upon reaching home, Ray notices many horses outside his house and gets pumped up, thinking that his father is home. However, as he enters the house, he witnesses his mother crying. Thinking that something has happened to his father, he runs to her and asks his mother what's wrong. Sobbing, Scarlet informs Ray that his dad is sick but will recover soon. Watching his father gravely ill, he activates his dragon eye and reckons that he has never seen any living being have such a high status, even when he was a dragon. Suddenly, Jake tries to speak something and mumbles that the shadows will kill everyone. That's when the mages reveal that Jake was inflicted with a plague of shadows and was attacked by a shadow beast while trying to protect a villager during their quest. Upon hearing this, our boy presumes that he has seen anything like that before. He is left baffled as he wonders when these beasts appeared and what happened to the world after he died as a red dragon. While his mother thanks the mages for bringing Jake back home, the mage apologizes as they couldn't protect him. Ray peeks at the dragon system and reckons that maybe he will be able to help his father with a spell. After that, Ray thinks about one of the high-tier spells he used to know which had the ability to dispel all forms of curses and black magic. But he's unaware of how to unlock that spell again, and wonders if he were to unlock that spell as a reward for killing magic beasts, then it would most probably be a high-ranked magic beast. He learns the fact that he's weak right now and can't take on a magic beast. The red-haired boy then turns towards his mother and questions her if he joins the Avrian Knight Academy, will he be able to get stronger? Scarlet, who seems to be crying, lets him know that this is the place where his father studied in the past, so he will become a strong warrior just like him. Upon hearing this, our boy gets all enthusiastic and decides to ace the test and become a student of Avrian Academy to find a way to save Jake. His mother with a heavy heart hugs him and confesses that she believes in him, so he can do this. In the next scene, we see what appears to be a church where we see the people wearing hooded cloaks who seem to be priests. Among the priests, the Master Elder informs others that the prophecy has been foretold, and a great change will befall this world. While the others wonder what change could it be, the prophecy turns out to be about Rei, as Master Elder wonders whether the boy will bring redemption or calamity. The future is yet to be determined. Just after that, the Elder orders to notify the knights to find the boy as soon as possible, so that if he brings redemption, they shall lead his way, but if he brings calamity, they should destroy him. The next scene takes us to the examination day of Avrian Knight Academy, where everyone is excitedly lined up as they look forward to seeing the knights. As the knights arrive, everyone cheers on them, and they see Knight Delbert, who is very charming, and people are gossiping about how he's just as the rumors said. The girls go crazy over him and find him handsome, as they only get to see the knights once a year, and it's on the examination day. With more cheers and applause, the knights reach the place where the competition will take place, and Winford introduces himself as the Knight of Avrian Academy and welcomes the kids. After introducing the well-known Sir Delbert and Sir Bernardo, Winford announces that they will act as proctors of the examination, and makes it clear that if they want to join the academy, then they gotta show their best skills. After the sword puppet is placed into position, Winford orders the candidates to step up one by one. Just then, the first test begins and a kid comes up. He underestimates the wooden puppet and confidently walks up to defeat it with pure strength while his parents cheer for him. Just as he attacks the puppet, he smashes away as the puppet smacks him hard, and the boy fails the test in less than a second. The parents who were cheering for their son a few minutes ago grow hushed as they are unable to process the shock. While the second candidate gets called upon, Ray seems to be immersed in his thoughts about how Jake told him exactly how the puppet works, and he has to defeat level 1 wooden puppet. The red-haired boy looks up at the puppet, noticing how it doesn't move, but the speed at which it defends and counterattacks is on par with adults. But our guy yanks out his thoughts as he is interrupted by the voices of Delbert and Winford. It turns out that he's able to hear their conversation from a far distance, which is probably because of obtaining more beast crystals that his senses are becoming sharper. The knights seem to be chattering about how it is a waste of time to come here, but they have to follow the orders of the Elder. Knight Delbers utters his opinion that the knight should come from noble blood, as he doesn't understand why they're wasting time on these filthy commoners. Listening to this, Winford, who seems like a nicer guy than Delbert, thinks that he's being harsh and has said a bit too much. Delbert, who is already fed up, gets more disheartened when there is not a single successful candidate after several rounds. Just then, Gary shows up and passes the examination test as he flashes a smile to everyone. As Sir Bernardo announces his success, the villagers begin to gossip about how he has potential in him. Meanwhile, Ray gets embarrassed on Gary's behalf, thinking, what the hell is he doing? Our boy becomes the center of attention as he's the next candidate to step up on the stage. Winford and Delbert both divert their attention towards Ray, knowing that he's the child their elder was talking about. On the other hand, the villagers start to gossip about how he's the cursed child and think what happened to Jake is because of his curse. They think that his hair is red as blood and it's terrifying to them. The villagers continue to blabber, muttering that Ray is a monster who can only bring misfortune and can't become a knight, and think it's a joke. But our guy doesn't seem to give a shit about it and takes his hood off as he moves up to the stage. At that moment, Bernardo informs the candidate to be prepared as the test starts in a minute. That's when Delbert approaches Bernardo and confesses that he doesn't believe in prophecies, as according to him, if the prophecies are true, then the red hair would be able to pass the test at any cost. To test that boy, the knight activates the level 3 of the puppet while Bernardo objects. With a whirl, the puppet starts moving with a lightning speed and moves towards Ray. To alert Ray, Bernardo and Winford yell at him to move out the way or he can get killed. But before he could say anything more, in a flash, Ray slashes the puppet's head off with his sword. As it happens, a deafening silence takes over the place while the wooden puppet head falls on the ground, making the knight's jaw drop. While Bernardo seems to be stunned to speak, Winford proudly tells him to announce the results. The knight then congratulates the candidate upon passing the test, while Scarlet gets proud of his son, and Gary appears to be in disbelief. After passing the test, Ray leaves the village along with the knights and wishes his dad goodbye, who lies unconscious. He assures his pops not to worry and promises to find a way to heal his dad. As he looks at his dad, Ray gets emotional, and that's when Scarlet arrives. She seems to have something in her hands, and it turns out to be a pendant. His mother makes Ray wear it as it was passed down in her family with hope to bring him good luck. After that, he informs his mother that he's leaving and asks her to take care of herself. Scarlet seems to be worried about him and instructs Ray to take care of himself, assuring him that she's here for him if he ever feels troubled. Our boy reassures his mother and declares that he's a man now. Just then he leaves while Scarlet sheds tears. As he arrives at the place, he is asked to be seated in the cart with the other boy waiting for him inside. Wondering who it might be, our guy realizes that it's Gary. Looking at each other, they both look embarrassed, while Ray ponders if they are the only ones to pass, and it's extremely awkward between them as they depart. On the way, Gary finally musters up the courage and apologizes to the red-haired boy, admitting that he was mean to him and even smacked him. He admits that he was being an idiot back then and bows as an apology gesture. Our boy looks shocked at first but then accepts the apology, thinking that it's fine since Gary is just a 5-year-old kid, and mentions that Gary also saved him, so it's even between them now. Upon hearing this, the blonde-haired boy gets confused about being a 5-year-old and enunciates how Ray is the same age as him. Meanwhile, our boy gets a bit nervous and changes the topic. He asks about Amy and wonders why she didn't come today for the examination. Listening to this, Gary gets confused because he thought his sister told him she's going to the Roland Magic Academy. It seems that Ray hears this name for the first time and wonders why Amy didn't tell him that she had the aptitude for magic. While they're on their way to the Knight Academy, suddenly they hear one of the knights shout to stop the cart, and it halts. Both of them peek outside from the curtains and witness dense fog, wondering what's going on. Winfred calls out that they're the knights from the Avrian Academy and orders them to tell them who they are at once. A girl emerges from the fog who appears to be in bad condition, and she calls out for help, introducing herself as Anne Woodwork, an adventurer from the Traceless Guild. While Bernardo asks her the matter, the girl collapses in his arms. To their surprise, she informs the knight that her team was attacked by shadow beasts. Upon hearing this, Bernardo gets baffled and wonders why the shadow beasts would appear here when they didn't even come across a single magic beast on their way here. While Delbert, being overconfident, thinks it's probably because they know how strong they are, Winfred informs the girl that they're heading to Rennie, so if that's on the way, they can take her. As Anne thanks the knight and agrees with him, Gary wonders why they're headed to Rennie instead of the Knight Academy. Delbert, standing there, hears him and responds to the blonde-haired guy not to be stupid because there's no use sending kids to the front line. Meanwhile, they both get baffled as they wonder what he meant by the front line. Knight Delbert explains that the Avrian Knight Academy is placed at the border, so it may be attacked at any moment. That's when Winfred interrupts that they need to train for a decade in Rennie until they grasp the basics of battle before continuing their studies in the Avrian Knight Academy. Upon listening to the word decade, Ray is left speechless and ponders that for a dragon it's a very short time, but not for a human, and wonders if Pops can wait for such a long time. On the other hand, Gary seems to be anxious about the Huntress being the only survivor, and Ray's father being attacked by the shadow beasts too. He thinks that even the knights were shocked to hear that it was done by shadow beasts and wonders what will they do if they encounter them. Just then, they hear a crack sound, which makes our boy alert, while Winfred announces everyone to be prepared because something big is approaching their way. It turns out to be Drop Bear King, the one that became a shadow beast too. As all the three knights prepare for the battle, the Drop Bear Shadow Beast approaches them from behind the bushes. While the Shadow Beast is about to attack Knight Bernardo, who can't seem to dodge the attack in time, Ray shows up at the right time and kills the beast, saving the knight. Bernardo then instructs the kids to protect themselves, while Winfred wonders why the Drop Bear King isn't moving and is bothered because he thinks it's waiting for something. Meanwhile, Gary is struggling to fight the shadow beasts and gets scratched by one of them, and that's when the Dragon Boy saves him by slashing his sword on the beast's back and warns the blonde-haired boy to be careful since these drop bears are much stronger than the demonic beasts. As the Drop Bear King roars, the voice reverberates and the effect is so powerful that the knight flies away while the others struggle to stand firm on their feet. Witnessing this sight, Gary wonders what that thing is, but Ray seems to have an idea that the monster over there is far too strong for them to fight with. The knight speculates that the Drop Bear King is standing in one place and not attacking them. Suddenly, that big shadow beast points toward Winfred and begins to speak, uttering that they will never defeat the shadows and that the shadows will take control over the entire continent. While the other knights fighting the monsters are startled by the talking beast, the shadow monster asserts that he is destined to fail and that those around him are destined to die. Upon hearing this, Ray is left flabbergasted, and the knights are utterly baffled as they seem to understand what the monster was trying to warn them about, assuming that it's threatening them. In the meantime, the giant shadow monster rumbles and leaps into the air, escaping away. Concluding that the monster left, Winfred lets out that they should be grateful as the shadow beast didn't choose to fight. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to leave this place in one piece. As Ray's dragon system appears as he obtains a crystal, our boy is lost in the thought of the shadow beast as he feels like it was talking to him. After that, Winfred appreciates Ray and Gary for how they reacted to the situation and anticipates that they will become good knights. At that moment, Ray asks the knight if beasts usually talk like that, to which Winfred responds that shadow beasts have never appeared on the border till now, and it's the first time he has encountered a monster that could talk. Peeking at the red-haired boy's cold expression, the knight ponders that Ray seems so calm, as someone his age wouldn't react like this at all. While they are talking, we see Delbert giving the red-haired boy a deadly stare as he seems disgusted by him. Later, as they arrive at Rennie Town on horses, they are welcomed by a troop of guards. As there seem to be more guards posted than usual, Winfred gets concerned and interrogates one of the guards, asking him why more guards are posted. While the huntress thanks the knights for escorting her all the way, the guard reveals to Winfred that the Allure Kingdom has issued an Amber Alert. Every town and city is now under heavy surveillance. Listening to this, the knight presumes that things have gotten severe as the kingdom has issued an Amber Alert, and this continent is on the verge of crisis. Then, he looks over at Ray and ponders if he will be the child of prophecy who will save them all. Meanwhile, our boy, who seems to be with Gary, thinks about his father and believes that he will certainly become a knight. He adds that everything has just begun, and Pops has to wait for him till he becomes a knight. We are then taken 10 years later to Rennie Town. As the class seems to be going on at the academy, the professor questions the students about what the command over another ability is called when most knights don't know how to use magic. Gary, who is also in the class, raises his hand and responds that knights use chi. After practicing it, they will be able to enhance their bodies and senses. He adds that some practitioners of chi can even break through the limits of the human body for a short time. While the teacher appreciates him for the answer and utters that he seems well prepared, she proceeds to ask another question about why chi can be practiced only after the age of 15, pointing towards Rei. But when Gary peeks over his place, Rei's seat appears to be empty. While our boy is out somewhere bunking the class, Gary nervously informs his teacher that he went to the restroom. Moving on, the teacher then asks a girl, Sylvia, who appears to be a beautiful girl with silver hair, and she answers, responding that practicing chi can put the body under an extreme amount of pressure. The internal organs of a human finish developing after the age of 15, so practicing it after this age minimizes any damage that may be taken to the body. As the teacher reminds students to keep everything in their mind they've learned, Sylvia stares at Rei's empty seat. The scene then flips to black demonic wolf who was tamed by Rei a long time ago. While the demonic wolf fights with another magic boar beast and slashes it, Rei earns a beast crystal as a reward. Our boy absorbs the power of the beginner-grade crystal beast and pats the black wolf for his good work. Thinking that he hunted enough beasts for the day, Rei decides to head back in before someone lashes out at him for staying out of the class. As he is about to return, Winford riding on the horse emerges from behind and lets out that it's a surprise to meet Rei, as he was wondering who he would have met when he came back. Looking at the beast he'd killed, the knight appreciates him and wonders how he's able to pass that heavy guard. As they stride together, Winford tells him that he's grown a lot taller since he last met him, and Rei compliments him back, mumbling that he hasn't changed at all in the past 10 years, and gets curious about his age. Telling him that it's a secret, Winford informs that he heard Rei's instructor say that he slips out of classes and hunts magical beasts, adding that he has gotten quite the haul after hunting. Upon hearing this, Rei reveals that it's all thanks to the Amber Alert, which was recently called off, so he's not having a hard time slipping out. Laid back, our guy tells the knight that he enjoys moving around here more than sitting in that classroom. Watching Rei be so reckless, Winford says that he should be lucky not to go any further because if the guards on the outer lines had caught him wandering, they wouldn't have held back. At that moment, the knight is reminded of something and informs Rei that he stopped by his house. He informs the boy of his father's condition, asserting that Jake's condition hasn't worsened since Rei's mother is taking good care of him. Winford pats his shoulder and delivers the message that his mother had sent for Rei, who wanted to tell him that he should not worry about his father too much. Looking upset, our boy thanks him and contemplates how he continued his training in the past decade and went the extra mile to train hard. However, he failed to unlock new abilities, and nothing has changed in the past years, concluding that he has no clue what to do about his father's condition. That's when Winford cheers him up, tapping on his shoulder and grips him tightly close to him, making our boy flustered. Walking towards the town, the knight tells Rei to buck up as they are going to head out for Avrian Academy tomorrow and expresses his excitement to see other kids there. Later, at the Rennie town entrance, we see the instructor shouting at the guard for letting his student go outside. The guard tries to explain that he had no reason to stop the student from going after the Amber Alert was released, adding that he wouldn't go much further. In the meantime, Winford and Rei walk into the hall, and they witness Alan, the instructor, grab the guard by the collar and make it clear that the red-haired boy is special, so they need to know where he is at all times. As Winford calls out his name, Alan, who already seems annoyed about Rei's absence, turns back and notices his special student alongside the knight. Testing his last nerve, Alan's blood begins to boil and he lashes out at our boy. He bursts out of anger and lets out that he warned Rei not to leave his line of sight, but still, he slipped out of the academy without permission, and how many times it has been this month, calling him an idiot. While our poor fella is freaked out, Winford nods from behind and thinks it serves him right as he has it coming. As the angry instructor smacks Rei's head, our boy mutters that it's been a month since the alert lifted, so he can do whatever he wants, adding that Mr. Allen is too much of a stick in the mud. Meanwhile, Rei hides behind Winford as he gets a nice beating from Alan. Our boy lets out that he will be leaving soon anyway, and after that, his instructor will be free as a bird. Pissed off, Alan clarifies that as long as Rei is his student, he isn't allowed to skip class, while Winford tries to stop them as they continue to bicker. After that, we are taken to Rennie Town Square, where the head instructs the students to gather at once, as they seem to be calling an emergency meeting. As they all gather, Rei returns with a bump on his head, and Gary asks him how he came earlier, assuming he got caught this time. While our guy tells him he got unlucky, Sylvia furtively peeks at him and starts to blush. After summoning all the students, the squire named Lancey informs them that he will bring all of them to the Avrian Knight Academy, and the entire journey will take about 7 days. Looking drop-dead serious, Lancey warns the students if they don't want to get in trouble, they will have to listen to his orders. Later, the guard asks Winford if the path to the academy has been decided. As the knight notifies him that they will go past the swamp, the guard panics and lets out that it's too early for the children to go through that tough path. Upon hearing this, Winford looks over at all the students and asserts that they are bound to face some challenges to become knights, adding that they are not the only ones who are getting tested. The next morning, all the students prepare to go to the Avrian Knight Academy as they depart from the Rennie Town gates in the carriages. While Rei seems to be snoring, a bald red-headed boy named Kyle wonders why they didn't use teleporters as they can get to the academy immediately if they use it, and some other boy lets out that they would have spared the trouble if they teleported there. Upon hearing such blabbering, a boy named Dan responds to him that it is because the Avrian Knight Academy doesn't have a teleporter, calling him an idiot. As Kyle assumes that the Avrian Academy is on the same level as Roland Academy and asks if they can't afford it, a voice echoes from somewhere that utters that someone hasn't been paying attention in class, referring to Dan and Kyle. It appears to be smartass Sylvia who elucidates that the Avrian Academy is right on the border, so not only does it have to stand against foreign invaders, but also shadow beasts as well. She further adds that if they install the teleporter in a place like that, there's a high chance that the invaders would teleport anywhere they wish if the Academy's guard were broken, as the teleporter would be an open invitation to them. As the students are left surprised to hear such information and think if it was taught in class, Sylvia turns pink as she looks at Ray. However, she nervously turns away when Gary catches her looking this way while our boy dozes off on his shoulder. Later, they arrive at the castle ruins near the swamps, and the students are instructed to set up their camps as it appears to be dawn already. Setting up their camps, Gary informs Ray that the silver-haired girl has been looking at him. Wondering what there's to look at, Gary tells him to look behind if he doesn't believe it. That's when they both turn around and discreetly look at her. Sylvia, who's peeking at her crush, gets caught red-handed and freaks out as she goofs up with her camp. As his friend turns out to be correct, Ray assumes that it's because of his red hair. But Gary reminds him that there are many red-haired people here, like Kyle, Ian, and the twins Sloth and Badger. Agreeing that he's got a point, Gary makes a sneaky face and asks Ray if he will ignore it because Sylvia is a super pretty girl. But our boy seems to be not interested in her. In the meantime, Dan sneaks out and comes behind the castle ruins, calling his friend Monk. Walking behind the castle ruins, they both are left disgusted by a pungent smell that smells worse than dead rats, presuming where it's coming from. Looking at the terrifying swamp, Dan lets out that he can't even see the end of this sticky place. As Dan and Monk look around the area, Lancey sneaks up on them and informs them that it's a swamp. Scaring the life out of them, Lancey gives them a death stare, alerting them both that if they don't want to get their legs bitten off by sharp worms in that swamp, they better set up their tents and sleep. The night falls and the fire crackles. Ray sneaks out of the castle without the guards noticing and wonders that he did some scouting during the dinner time, concluding that he can slip away without having to deal with the guards. As Ray is about to leave, someone grabs his hand. It turns out to be Sylvia who asks him where he is headed at this time of night. Telling her the truth, our boy responds that he's going to hunt magical beasts. Concerned, Sylvia utters if he has gone mad and reminds him that this isn't around Rennie anymore. She continues to warn him that he can even encounter an intermediate rank beast, adding that the knights won't even have time to save him. Jerking her hand away, Ray tells her that he's going to be fine, and he can deal with the intermediate rank beast as it's not a problem for him. Watching him act this way, Sylvia gets sad, and he leaves for hunting. The next day the sun rises. The knights wake everyone up as they jerk the curtain away, calling them lazy bones, announcing whoever wakes up last will be punished. Gary wakes up and freaks out when he sees Ray lying with his red eyes wide open. Scaring the hell out of him, Gary asks him if he didn't sleep the whole night. Our boy, who just lied down after an entire night, assures him that he slept well. Mumbling that he's not dumb, Gary realizes that he didn't sleep the whole night and heads outside as he doesn't want to be punished in front of all the people. Meanwhile, Ray looks at this dragon system with a smile and reckons that if he keeps hunting at this rate, he can get to the maximum amount of beginner beast crystals by the time they reach Avrian Knight Academy, and after that, he will be able to absorb the intermediate ones. Later, they continue their journey towards the academy, and all the carriages follow the knights who seem to be leading the way. As they pass through what looks like an eerie forest, Winford stops as he senses something ahead. Sensing danger, Winford nods to Lancey to leave the area, as now the students will face a challenge on their own. Suddenly, something starts popping out of the ground, making the carriages out of balance. While Gary wonders that it's too quiet outside and Ray nods off, the horse screams as it is attacked by something. It emerges that the sharp worms have halted their way as they barge into the carriage. While the sneak attack of the worms frightens the life out of some of them, Gary and Ray prepare for the battle as they pull out their swords and start slashing the monsters. As the worm creeps towards to attack a girl, Gary leaps in front of her and rips the monster with his sword. Witnessing so much blood pouring out of the worms, some of them tremble with fear. While Gary speculates that sharp worms appear in swarms, so there's going to be more of them, he instructs others to not let their guard down and get off the cart. As the other students join in to help him, Gary commands them to fight in an open area and to make a team of 3, staying back to back so that there aren't any holes in the defenses. Meanwhile, Kyle, who seems supercharged to kill the worms, Ray presumes that they are getting a little too excited and activates his dragon eye. Watching all of them immersed in the fight, our boy reckons that all the sharp worms are beginner rank magical beasts, so he has nothing to worry about. As he thinks, his eyes land on the top of the cliff, where he notices the 6 knights who left the group earlier. Our boy, who seems to be going to sleep in the carriage, is spotted by Dan, who asks him where he's going and tells him not to break the formation. Letting out a big fat yawn, Ray says that those are beginner rank monsters, so they won't need his help, and with him gone, the numbers will be just right. While the knights observe the students from above the cliff, They assume that Ray is scared of the monsters, and he will only get a red belt. The other knight points at Gary, who seems to be doing pretty well, and explains that he attacks with no hesitation and kills with a single swing, adding that he consciously controls his body so that he moves a little without wasting any moment. Anticipating that Gary will get a white belt, Winfred points at Sylvia and concludes that she doesn't attack proactively, but is extraordinarily observant. As the other knight compliments that her stance is perfect, Sylvia impressively dodges a sharp worm and slashes it with her sword. Observing her moves, Winfred lets out that she's steady, and once she finds an opening, it's over for the enemy. Lancey, who seems impressed by Sylvia's attacks, says that even her clothes are spotless. That's when something explodes from underground, and it appears to be a giant sharp bug that has emerged from the ground. All the students are terrified of the colossal worm and assume that they have merged to become a big one. Trembling in fear, the worm leans toward one of the kids, who goes weak and trips to the ground. As the worm is about to attack him, Ian, the red-haired guy, leaps in front of him and rips the worm's tentacles with his strong muscles. In the meantime, Ian tears apart the monster out of anger as he shouts that no one is allowed to hurt his comrades. While the twins Sloth and Badger join him and slash through the giant worms like pros, Kyle, who seems to be counting how many worms he has killed, pierces through the monster with his sword, concluding that he has killed 45 in total. The knights, noticing them from above, are left surprised as they do not need to do anything to help them. The red-haired kids seem to have done a pretty good job of killing the monster except Ray, and they almost seem to be done. After the red-haired kids are done killing the worm, Ian asks his teammate if he's okay, and they are all relieved that the monsters are finally dead. Keenly observing the students, Winfred speculates that Ian is not only physically strong, but also knows how to care for his teammates, and he's a gem. On the other hand, there's Ray, who's dozing off on the carriage and doesn't care about anything. After that, they all get inside the carriage, and Gary asks Ray why he didn't join them in the battle. He informs him that it's dangerous here, and if anything happened, no one would have been able to save him. Stretching himself, our guy tells him he was too sleepy and the knights were watching over them anyway. While Gary admits that he's a lone wolf now, Winfred is baffled and reckons who the child of prophecy will be.